Hi guys, I'm Aki and I'll be your teacher for the next few lessons, and this will be Scratch beginning lesson 1. So a quick overview about what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover making an account on Scratch, which is pretty important, and then we're going to learn about sprites, which is kind of the first building block you need to make a program, and then we're going to cover the coordinate plane. So don't worry if you're not comfortable with any of that, we'll get there. Okay, so first, to be able to use Scratch, you're going to need to have a Scratch account. So you're going to go to scratch.mit.edu and click Join Scratch at the top. So it's going to look something like this. If you already have an account, you can just hit sign in and log in with your details. But if you don't, you're going to hit Join Scratch and it's going to ask you for your username and then your password twice. So we have a little formula we like to use at Sang, where we just take the first initial of your first name and then add your last name and then the current year, so 2024. So if your name was Daniel Kazanov, you would be D Kazanov 2024. And then just to keep it simple, we like to have our password as class. So you'll have to input that twice to make sure you typed it in correctly. So if I didn't have an account, I'd hit join Scratch and then I'd say, for example, D Kazanov 2024 and then sang class, and then sang class. And you'll want to write this password down somewhere just so you don't forget it. But I do have an account, so I'll just hit sign in. It autofills my details since I've used it before, and then we hit sign in. Okay, and then, so just to get started, we're going to create a new project. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to learn about sprites. And the definition of a sprite is basically just a character that you can control using code. So you can tell it to move around, tell it to do something when you click on it, stuff like that. So by default, Scratch will give you this sprite called Sprite1 or Scratch Cat. But if you want to create your own sprite, you're going to want to click this button near the bottom. So that'll give you 4 options that pop up. The first one is the sprite. So if you have an image file you'd like to use, you can grab that. The next one is Surprise. It'll grab a random one from Scratch's library. The third one is Paint Sprite, which means you get to draw your own. And then the last one is you can access Scratch's default sprite library. So basically, Scratch has provided a pretty big list of sprites that you can just use. And Surprise actually grabs from this library, so it'll be one of those. Okay, so for our exercise, we want to create a new sprite using a saved image. So here, I'm going to hit choose a sprite. And then for now, I'm going to hit upload a sprite. I think if I go here, I have these 3 images, so I could do this baby. So now I have a sprite of this baby and of this radio. So I'm going to get rid of this baby for now, and then I'm also going to get rid of sprite 1. You can do that by clicking the trash can at the top of the sprite. Okay, so now I just have this radio. And then now we're going to move on to the coordinate plane. If you had any trouble with that, you can just go back in the video and take a look at what I did. Coordinate plane. Basically, it controls the location of the sprite, and it's made of, you can see 2 main lines that are horizontal and vertical. So the x-axis is horizontal, it's left to right, and the y-axis is vertical, up and down. And you can see these numbers. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then also those negative numbers. So basically, we're going to have coordinates, which are always written the x location and then the y location. So x is how far left or right it is from the middle, which is 0. And y is how far up or down it is from 0. So for example, if I said the x value is 3, you would know it's right here, somewhere right here, because we don't know the y value yet. And if the y value is 4, we know it's here, 4. And then it could be anywhere in this line, because the height is 4, but we don't know what the x value is. And also the origin, this middle point is called the origin, and it's always 0, 0. So the x value is 0, and the y value is 0. Okay, so quick quiz. Find 1, comma 2, 3, comma negative 2, negative 6, comma 3, and negative 4, comma negative 5. Remember, the x value always comes first, and then the y. So it's x, comma y. You can pause, and then I'll go over the answers. All right. So for the first one, 1 is the x value. We know that's about here. Comma 2. That's a little bit up. Let me just make sure you can see this. Okay, perfect. and then 3 comma -2. So 3 and then -2, so we go down. -6, since that's the x value, we go to the left. -6 and then comma 3 here. And then -4, -5, both of them are negative. So -4 is about here, and then -5 down here. So using that information, that actually is the location of a sprite. So we have the x value and the y value. So if we go here, we can see if I place it near the middle, it gets pretty close. And I can also actually just type in here and change it to what I want. So right now we're at the origin, 0, 0. And then if I move it to the side, the x value increases and the y value only increases by a little bit because I didn't move it up very much. But if I do here, now they're both in the hundreds. But if I move it here, they'll both be negative. So yeah, -171 for the x value and -113 for the y value. It'll also show you which x is sideways and y is up and down. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the flagged click block. This is probably the most important block, and you might recognize this flag. So when a user wants to run your program, they'll hit that flag, and everything attached to this code block will run after that. And just as a quick note, you can't place anything above this block because this block goes first. So for example, if I go here to events and I hit this when clicked and then any block, so for example this, now when I click this, it'll wait 1 second. You won't be able to tell because I haven't had it do anything after 1 second, but it is still waiting 1 second. Okay. So a quick review, I'll pause and you can go over the questions. What is a sprite and how do you make one? What are the names of the axes on the coordinate plane? What coordinate is at the center of the coordinate plane? It's called the origin. And how can you find the location of your sprite? You guys can pause and remember which ones. Okay, so a sprite is a controllable character, and then you create one by hovering over this button over the blue cat symbol. So there's two axes, the x-axis and the y-axis. What coordinate is at the center? 0, 0. This is called the origin. And how can you find the location? Below the canvas, it'll give you the x and the y value. Okay, it looks like that's it for our lesson today. Thanks for coming.